Spaceflight is expensive. Really, really expensive. More than 6 figures type of expensive. To get a rough idea of how much money we're talking about, we can look at current costs. In 2006, it cost NASA $25 million per person to fly on the Soyuz spacecraft, and as you can see, it only gets more expensive. To launch the now retired space shuttle a single time, it cost NASA approximately $450 million. Copenhagen Suborbitals, however, have been surviving on a budget of around $10,000 a month. Yes, 10,000. That's less than 1% of what NASA pays for a seat. So who are these guys and what on earth are they doing? I intend to find out.
25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower clear.
Copenhagen Suborbitals, who will be referred to by CS from now, was founded in 2008 by one Peter Madsen, an infamous local celebrity who is now best known as the man who killed journalist Kim Wall aboard his own DIY submarine. Madsen left the group in 2014 along with Christian von Begsten, a man who had helped create the organisation. Their conflict about how to run CS left with them. Personal conflict aside, the group has a single ambition: to create a rocket that can safely launch a human into space. According to their website, the Speaker rocket will achieve a suborbital spaceflight akin to the missions undertaken by the Mercury astronauts. In these missions, the astronaut will be launched beyond the boundary of space before being pulled back to Earth by gravity. It is this first simplification that makes CS seem less insane than you might initially believe. The group is not trying to achieve orbit, which is leagues ahead of a suborbital flight in terms of complexity and cost. By choosing this flight plan, the group can scale down and create a simpler rocket at a cheaper price. Even just looking at the Mercury capsule can give us an indication of the relative simplicity compared to an orbital spacecraft such as the Soyuz. By looking at the Redstone launch vehicle, we can determine what kind of technology will be needed to launch a capsule over the edge of space. Something in particular that caught my attention was the similarities between the aforementioned Redstone and the technologies demonstrated by CS. In this 1964 technical report, NASA details the use of jet vanes to control the A7 engine's direction of thrust. This exact technology has been not only tested, but flown by CS aboard the Sapphire rocket. Both the Redstone and Speaker rockets will use ethanol and liquid oxygen as propellant. CS have already tested this propellant mixture themselves using the BPM-5 engine. There is one distinct difference between the Speaker and Redstone, and that comes in the form of plumbing. One of the most difficult elements in rocketry is the process of moving fuel from the tanks to the combustion chamber. It turns out that shifting gallons of fuel in a short period of time is challenging, and thus many different solutions have been provided over the years. Starting off simply is the best way to illustrate this concept, and CS can assist us in this department. CS has flown all of their rockets thus far using a system known as pressure blowdown. This method involves filling the fuel tanks to 2/3 capacity before filling them with pressurised gas. Valves then opened to let the fuel rush out to a lower pressure area, which just so happens to be the combustion chamber. A new system intended to replace pressure blowdown is being tested by CS and will be used to power Nexo 2, their latest rocket. This particular system incorporates a tertiary tank that contains pressurised gas. Using this method, the gas can be fed into the fuel and oxidizer tanks at variable rates so that a constant pressure is exerted upon the fuels. This improves the efficiency of the engine as the fuel is all ejected into the combustion chamber at a constant rate, rather than having the rate drop off as with pressure blowdown. Any other methods of pumping fuel requires the use of a turbopump, which is where most of the technical complexity lies in a rocket engine. This single aspect is also what separates CS from NASA, who use a turbopump in the A7 rocket engine. The aforementioned technical report details their method of driving the turbopump in what is called a gas generator cycle. The A7 specifically would convert hydrogen peroxide into gas in order to drive the pump. This gas is then used to heat liquid oxygen before being dumped overboard via the steam duct. Heating the liquid oxygen increases its pressure and therefore pushes it further into the combustion chamber. It doesn't need to be stated that turbopumps are considered the best method by which fuel can be moved. They are most widely used for a reason. Whether or not CS can achieve the altitude requirement for spaceflight on simpler systems is yet to be seen. It is one thing to create an unmanned rocket that can grasp at the emptiness of space. Launching somebody brave or crazy enough to such heights is another question entirely. Of course, adequate protection from the dangers of space and the subsequent return are of the utmost priority. Spacecraft are the vessel by which we address these concerns. A 15-minute flight is thankfully less taxing in the health and safety department, considering the fact that no food or water will be needed. Copious amounts of oxygen are also unnecessary, as the astronaut will not be spending a great deal of time in environments where such an issue arises. In the Mercury capsule, 3 small oxygen tanks were fitted in order to provide a breathable atmosphere for the astronaut. In order to remove exhaled carbon dioxide, lithium hydroxide chemically reacts with it inside canisters to produce lithium carbonate and water. Upon re-entry, the Mercury capsule utilised a heat shield and parachutes to protect against the heat and slow the capsule to safe speeds. CS intended to employ some unique methods when it comes to bringing the spacecraft back to Earth. From the information released thus far, we know that a balut is to be used as a method to slow the spacecraft. These work by trapping air inside the body of the balut, which in turn expands, stabilising and slowing the spacecraft. Other than the aforementioned balut, there aren't all that many differences between the Speaker and Mercury in regards to re-entry and landing. Speaker's heat shield will have to withstand temperatures of up to 450 degrees Celsius, and 3 large parachutes will further slow the spacecraft to a survivable impact speed. One interesting design feature that I noticed were these small fins positioned towards the top of the spacecraft. I would speculate, based on their position, that these are used to keep the spacecraft's heat shield facing the direction of travel during re-entry and to prevent any tumbling that may occur while the spacecraft falls back to Earth. It would appear to me, a casual observer who takes interest in the topics of rocket engineering and spaceflight, that CS have a genuine passion for their project, as well as good technical expertise that can carry said project forwards. After looking at a few technical aspects documented within this video, I would also conclude that the idea is not entirely out of the realm of possibility. There are aspects of this journey that CS has yet to demonstrate. There have been very few tests of the technologies such as the heat shield and balut. Hopefully CS demonstrates their competency in these areas and others down the line. For now, we can only observe their efforts with crossed fingers.